بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وما تقدموا لأنفسكم من خير تجدوه عند الله إن الله بما تعملون بصير.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم مصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Dear brothers and sisters, in the previous session I explained the rules regarding the time for prayers, combining prayers, and the relevant issues regarding prayers. I mentioned that no one from Shia scholars and no one from Shia jurists suggest that combining prayers is necessary or it is recommended, and no one suggests that offering the prayers separately is not permissible or it's not recommended. Of course, all Shia religious authorities agree that it is permissible to combine the prayers as well as offer the prayers separately. But to offer the prayers separately is better, and it has more reward, more sawab for the individual. Many religious scholars have said that it is better, it is recommended to delay the Asr prayer, the afternoon prayer, 1.5 hours after midday prayer. And as far as Isha prayer is concerned, the religious authorities have said that it is better to delay the Isha prayers 45 minutes after the Maghrib prayer. And that is the best time to offer the Isha prayer. This simply is to tell the mu'minin that delaying the Asr prayer or the afternoon prayer as well as the Isha prayer is recommended, and it has more reward, it gains more reward. But if you are, let's say, a businessman, a shopkeeper, and if you cannot shut down your business and your shop every half hour, or let's say in a daytime, because you will lose your customers, or maybe you have a lot of preoccupation, a lot of other activities, then you can combine your prayers. And as I said, it has been reported from Ibn Abbas, one of the companions of the Holy Prophet, that he said that the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family combined his prayers even in Medina, let alone in Mecca and in Muzdalifah and on journeys, because it has been reported from even Sunni reporters and narrators that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, combined his prayers when he was on a journey. And he ordered his companions to combine the prayers, And also at Muzdalifah, all Sunni sects believe that it's permissible to combine the prayers at Muzdalifah. Now, I in the previous session, I did explain everything regarding combining prayers. In this session, inshallah, I will explain the remaining rules regarding the time for prayers. Now, there is a question. The question is, can a person start offering prayers when he is not certain that the time for prayer has set in? For example, he wants to offer the midday prayer, the Dhuhr prayer, and he is not certain whether the time has actually set in or not, or the time has arrived or not. He cannot, if he is not sure, he cannot offer his prayers. He cannot start offering the prayers when he is not certain or when he is not sure. If he considers it probable that the time has set in and then he starts offering the prayers, and later on it transpires, it becomes known that the time had not set in, it is necessary for him to repeat the prayers. But if it transpires, if it becomes known later on that the time had actually set in and he offered the prayers within the prescribed time, then there is no problem, and the prayer which he offered is valid. Of course, those people who have restrictions, for example, maybe some people might be in a prison, they don't have access to time, they cannot see the sky, and the room is dark, or maybe it's very cloudy. If there is an impediment, it is sufficient to act on one's surmise, on one's conjecture and guess. For example, if you guess it very likely, if you consider it very likely that the time has set in, then of course you can offer your prayers. It's not necessary to wait. And of course, if you have time to wait until you are certain, then it's recommended to wait. You should wait so that you can offer your prayers. But if you can never decide, if you can never determine, because you have no means to determine the time, then of course you have to act on your surmise, on your guess, on your conjecture. If a person is heedless of the fact that he should pray after ensuring that the time has set in, there are of course some people who are heedless, who are careless, and who never care about whether the time has actually set in or not. And if such a heedless person is there, and if, for example, he realizes, he does not make sure that whether the time has set in or not, but if he realizes after the prayers that he had offered the entire prayers in time, in this case, of course, his prayer is in order. His prayer is in order. And if he realizes that he had offered his prayers before time, or even does not realize that whether he offered his prayers within this prescribed time or out of the prescribed time, then in this case, his prayers is void. He should offer his prayers again, and he should repeat the prayers. Because it's essential for every adherent Muslim, for every practitioner, for every abiding Muslim, to make sure that the time has set in. And he cannot offer his prayers if he is not sure. The same is true with other time-framed obligations like fasting. You cannot break your fast if you are not sure that the time has set in. First of all, you make sure that the time has set in, and then you can break your fast. You should make sure that the time has set in and then offer your prayers. Yes. Now another question arises, What should a person do if he has very little time left? For example, can he do the mustahab acts like qunut? Of course, a prayer consists of many mustahab parts. Like for example, the tasbihat arba'ah, it is recommended that you should recite the tasbihat arba'ah thrice. But reciting it once is obligatory. Thrice is recommended. Qunut is a recommended part of the prayer. It's not wajib. And also there are many recitals, many salawat and many takbirs which are recommended and which are not a part of the prayers. If you have very little time left, and if you engage in reciting all the recommended parts of the prayer, then of course you will miss the prayer. In this case, the religious scholars have said that you should leave the recommended parts and only recite the obligatory zikr, the obligatory parts of the prayers. For example, you can leave the qunut and it's not necessary to perform the qunut, and of course you should only offer the obligatory part. Now there are occasions, for example, you have time for 5 rakats of prayer, and you know that you have to offer dhuhr and asr prayer, the midday and afternoon prayers. The religious authorities, the religious scholars have said that if you have time for 5 rakats of prayers, if you are not a traveler, of course, because a traveler has to shorten his prayers, he has to offer 2 rakats of zuhr prayer and 2 rakats of asr prayer. But if you are not a traveler and you have time only for 5 rakats of prayer, then in this case you can offer the dhuhr and asr prayer both as ada, not as qaza. You can first of all offer the midday prayer and then the asr prayer, both of them as qaza. But if you have time only for 4 rakats of prayers, then you have to offer only the asr prayer. You cannot offer the midday prayer. You should offer the asr prayer, the afternoon prayer, and then after offering the afternoon prayer, you should offer the midday prayer as qada, as missed prayer. But if you are a traveler, it is sufficient that you have time for 3 rakats of prayer, because you are going to shorten. You are going to offer the midday and the afternoon prayer as qasr. So if you have time for 3 rakats of prayer, you can offer both the midday and afternoon prayer as ada. It is sufficient that you have time for 1 rakat of the prayer, and that rakat of prayer would be considered as being offered within the prescribed time as ada. Ada means offering prayer within the prescribed time, within the time special for that prayer. If you have only time for 3 rakats of prayer, then of course, as a traveler, you should offer both the midday and afternoon prayer as ada. Ada, as I said, means that you offer the prayer with the niyyah that you are going to offer the midday and asr prayer within the prescribed time. Within the prescribed time. The religious scholars have said that if you have time left only for one rakat of prayer, let's say it is morning prayer, or maybe you have time left for one rakat of the afternoon prayer, the asr prayer, or the isha prayer, in that case, you can offer that prayer as ada, as a prayer offered within the prescribed time. Though you are sure that the 3 other rakats of prayer, if you are going to offer the asr prayer, for example, you will offer the 3 remaining rakats out of the prescribed time, but that will be counted as a prayer offered within the prescribed time. So remember, if you have only 1 minute left for the afternoon prayer or the isha prayer, because you cannot offer the midday and maghrib prayer if you have got only 1 minute. If you've got only 1 minute, you have to offer either the asr prayer or the isha prayer, depending which prayer you are offering and which prayer you have to offer. In that case, you have to offer either the isha prayer or the asr prayer. Of course, the same rule, the same details and the same explanations regarding the midday and afternoon prayer apply to isha and to maghrib and isha prayers. Dear brothers and sisters, as you know very well that a prayer consists of the rukn and the non-rukn parts. Probably or most surely you have heard from religious scholars that as far as the rukn is concerned, the rukn is the most essential and most important parts of the prayer, without which the whole setup, the whole prayer is deformed, it is destroyed. So I can translate the word rukn as the basic element of prayer. So the basic element of prayer is the most important element of prayer, is the most important part of the prayer. We have 5 basic elements in every prayer. First of all, we have the niyat, and then takbiratul ihram. This is the second basic element. And then, of course, standing, which is adjacent to ruku, not the standing after the ruku, the standing before the going down for ruku, which is called qiyam muttasil bi ruku. And of course, that is called qiyam because one should be standing before bending, before bowing down for the ruku. So if you are in a sitting posture, or you are in a bending posture, and you do not stand up, and you just make the niyyah to offer the ruku, in that case, your prayer would be void. It is necessary that before going down and before performing the ruku, which is by itself another basic element of the prayer, you should be standing. You should be in a standing posture. And then after you go down, you have to perform the ruku. Ruku is the fourth basic element, the fourth rukn. And the fifth rukn is the sajda. Of course, one sajda is not the basic element, but a combination of the two sajdas is considered to be a rukn. A combination of the two prostrations, a combination or a composite of the two sajdas is considered to be a rukn, a basic element. When it comes to a basic element in prayer, one should not leave out any basic elements. And if a prayer is devoid of one of the basic elements, the whole prayer is invalid. And of course, it does not make any difference whether you leave out the basic element intentionally or unintentionally, willingly or unwillingly, and of course intentionally or inadvertently. The prayer is made void if you forget, for example, to offer one rukn, for example, the ruku or the sujood. The prayer is made void if you intentionally, for example, add one ruku to your prayer. Adding or reducing one ruku or one basic element from the prayer will make the prayer void, and it does not make any difference, and it does not matter whether you do it forgetfully or intentionally or inadvertently. The prayer is made void. You cannot increase, you cannot decrease, you cannot add, and you cannot minus a basic element from the prayer, a basic element or a rukn from the prayer. If you do so forgetfully or intentionally, your prayer is made void. As for the other parts of the prayer which is not considered to be rukn, like qira'ah, like tashahhud, like, for example, reciting the tasbihat arba'ah, for example, or saying or missing a takbir, for example, not takbiratul ihram, of course. If you do not intentionally do that, your prayer will remain valid. Your prayer will not be made void, provided that you do not do it intentionally. And of course, if you do it intentionally, there is no doubt that your prayer will be made void. So, when it comes to the non-rukn, the non-basic elements, which are wajib, of course, which are obligatory, not the mustahab, because the mustahab parts can be left out intentionally, like qunut, like the takbir, which is in between the two sajdas, for example, or like two of the tasbihat arba'ah, for example, or the four tasbihat, tasbih. If you do not recite them intentionally, since they are recommended parts, since they are the mustahab parts, your prayer will remain valid. But as far as the obligatory parts are concerned, which are not rukn, which are not part of the basic elements of the prayer, if you leave them out intentionally, not forgetfully, then of course your prayer will be made void. But if you forget to offer them, forgetfully, for example, and if you forget, if you are oblivious to recite one of the wajib zikr, one of the wajib recitals, or to say one of the wajib takbir other than takbiratul ihram, then your prayers will be valid. Dear brothers and sisters, the grand religious authorities have said that if you owe someone something and he comes to your door, he knocks on your door and he demands his money, they have said that it is necessary for you to defer your prayer, to delay your prayer in order to repay your loan, in order to pay off your debt, in order to clear your debt. This shows the significance of paying your debt and paying off your loan to a creditor, And also, the religious scholars have said that if you do not know certain rules of prayer, for example, and you consider it very likely that while offering prayer, you will face a problem about which you are not sure and about which you have no idea because you do not know the rules. In that case, the grand religious authorities have said that you can defer your prayers, you can delay your prayers until you should learn the relevant rules. That's why I have always emphasized that we should make our efforts to understand the rules, to learn the Islamic laws, to engage in learning the Islamic laws. Because one day we will come across a situation where we do not know the rules. As far as the shakiyat, the doubts regarding the prayers, the units of prayers are concerned, and the way we have to offer the sajdas, sajda to sah, for example, these are the things which we must know and which we must be able to perform. If we do not know the prayers, the rules regarding these, we have to take action to learn them. Of course, in the present time, all people, except those who live in the villages, have access either to internet or to risala. The risalas are there on the websites. You can download a copy of those risalas or the epistles of Islamic laws and read them for yourself. It is, of course, unjustifiable. It is not justified on your part to ignore the ahkam and not to learn them and not to engage in learning them and not to go for those rules which you are in need of. Just as the rule which I mentioned, that if you are owing someone some money and he comes to your door and he is in a hurry, you can even break your prayers to pay him because he is in a hurry. And if he is not in a hurry, and if the time is enough, you can defer your prayers and then offer your prayer and then repay your loan or give the creditor his money. Inshallah, in the next session to come, I will explain the remaining rules regarding prayer, and of course there is much to explain, there is much to speak, and there are many details regarding the different aspects and the different parts of prayer, and of course there are some controversies, some important questions like Shahadat Salisa, which I will speak about in the next session to come. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا يا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا يا ربنا يا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا يا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا